by rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead Krishna, one immediately acquires and detachment from the world. Prabhupada quoted that verse, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Verse 7. I mean, I couldn't even count it. In many of his purports, many of his lectures, and many of his letters. Detachment from the world means detachment from fruit of action, detachment from false ego. I don't know what I'm doing with the microphone. Detachment automatically, and this is what Prabhupada would emphasize, detachment will automatically come when you're on the platform of Vasudev Bhagavati, when you are putting Krishna in the center and you are worshiping him and you're engaging in devotional service, everything else comes. Detachment comes. The illumination of knowledge comes. And that illumination, it's not only great relief, it's a great thrill. I was thinking of how, in terms of relief, I don't know if you've ever had a bad dream. Surely I'm not the only one who sometimes has bad dreams, I will admit it. But with the moment you open your eyes and you wake up and you're, oh, thank God, I'm not actually in that situation. That wasn't real, that isn't happening to me, or that person, isn't going through that. It's such a relief. Oh, thank God. That was all a lie. So similarly, when we come out of the darkness of illusion, it's such a relief. Oh my God, none of that's true. But then we get the thrill of finding out who we actually are. Oh, the joy of finding out my real position, my real home, my real father, my real unending, eternal, always fulfilling relationship. The thrill, the delight found by the soul through the process of devotional service is really the message of the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. So the earlier occurrence of Vasudeva Bhagavati, verse 7, it's emphasizing the practical effects of bhakti. When you're fully engaged, you get vairagya, detachment, and you get knowledge, jnana, of who you really are. And then these qualities liberate you from material illusions and attachments, and it puts you on the path to pure devotion. In today's verse, verse 22 of chapter 2, Vasudeva Bhagavati talks about the joy and satisfaction from devotional service. And the dual appearance of this phrase within a single chapter, it reinforces, as Prabhupada notes in the purport, the centrality of Krishna as the ultimate object of devotion. By serving Krishna, we really get everything we want. We get true knowledge, we get true satisfaction, we get that thrill that the soul has been always seeking. In verses 6 and 7, they answer the first question of the sages of Naimisharanya, which is, what is the essence of all spiritual knowledge? Because in the age of Kali, people aren't going to go through the trouble of studying all the Vedas. They're lazy. And even if one or two did take the trouble, overall, their intelligence is not sufficient. Their mind is always disturbed. The people of Kali are very busy in speculating and quarreling. They're not going to get it. So the sages, for our benefit, ask, what is the essence of all the Vedas? And the answer is Vasudeva Bhagavati, service unto Krishna. And as I mentioned in other choice places in Bhagavatam, that phrase appears again, Vasudeva Bhagavati. It appears in the 6th canto, Canto 6, Chapter 17, verse 31. It's once again in a summary placement, concluding after the pastime of King Chitraketu and his subsequent birth as the demon Vritrasura. So I'm going to share that story. Chitraketu was a mighty and wealthy king, but despite his material prosperity, he was consumed by sorrow due to his lack of an heir. After performing severe penance, the sage Angira blessed him with a son. However, this temporary joy was cut short when the child died prematurely, and that plunged the king into despair. Of course, this event was orchestrated by the Lord. It was his arrangement. And this prompted Angira and Narada Muni to instruct Chitraketu on really the transient nature of our material attachments and how we can find eternal happiness, which is through devotional service. So through the guidance of Narada Muni, Chitraketu he chanted a sacred mantra, and he achieved direct realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he ruled his kingdom as a self-realized soul. But one day he had a fateful encounter with Lord Shiva and Parvati Devi. He was observing Lord Shiva Lord Shiva had Mother Parvati seated in his lap in a public assembly. And Chitraketu made a comment. He laughed with wonder and kind of amazement that, wow, Lord Shiva, the topmost Vaishnav, the most detached person, here he is, he's affectionately sitting with his wife. So he was laughing with, kind of how hard it is to understand such a great elevated soul, but how wonderful it is to see that display of affection. But Parvati heard his laugh, and she was very insulted. She thought that he was making fun with his laughter. So she cursed him to be reborn as a demon. And Chitraketu, as a devotee, how do you think he reacted? Jaishnav, you probably know. Yeah, he accepted it. He accepted it. He didn't protest, nor did he lament. He said, okay, this is the will of the Lord. So Chitraketu was reborn as the demon Vritrasura, but even as a demon, he retained his devotion to Lord Vasudeva, Lord Krishna. His heart remained fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, even as he battled the demigods. And during his climactic battle with Indra, Vritrasura uttered prayers that revealed his unwavering devotion and realization of the futility of material existence. One of his most poignant prayers is found in Canto 6, Chapter 11, verse 24. Nana kaprishtam na cha parameshcham na sarva bhomam na sradipatyam na yoga siddhira punarbhavam va samanyasyatva viraya kangshe. O my Lord, source of all opportunities, I do not desire to enjoy in the heavenly planets, nor the planet where Lord Brahma resides, nor do I want to be the supreme ruler of all the earthly planets or the lower planetary systems. I do not desire to be master of the powers of mystic yoga, nor do I want liberation if I have to give up your lotus feet. And this beautiful prayer demonstrates Vritrasura's complete renunciation, his detachment of all material aspirations, including liberation, and his exclusive focus and joy in meditating and serving the Supreme Lord. His desire to remain perpetually connected to Krishna, it highlights what we're hearing about today in verse 22 of the enlivening and satisfying nature of bhakti. So then at the conclusion of this pastime, Lord Shiva says to Parvati, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhaktim Udvahatam Nrinam Jnana Vairagya Viryani Dharmascha Suhridastata. Persons engaged in devotional service to Lord Krishna, to Vasudeva Krishna, have naturally perfect knowledge and detachment from this material world. Therefore, such devotees are not interested in the so-called happiness or so-called distress of this world. So Vritrasura's devotion transcended his circumstances, his material body as a demon, and his external situation when he's fighting, even when he's dying. So it reaffirms the central theme as Vasudeva Bhagavati's, putting Krishna first, serving Krishna as the ultimate platform of self-realization. Everything else follows. And then I wanted to take a look at just some other important things Prabhupada mentions in the purport. As I said, this verse in purport is very packed philosophically. So in today's purport, Prabhupada elaborates on Krishna's unique position as Swayam Roop, the original form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's putting it here front and center. This understanding is critical to grasping the theological framework of Bhagavatam. He emphasizes Krishna is not merely one among many manifestations of God, but he is the fountainhead of all expansions, all incarnations and energies, both spiritual and material. The subsequent chapters will delve deeper into this, describing how Krishna is the cause of all causes and the ultimate origin of all forms of God. So Prabhupada highlights the importance of understanding this principle to fully appreciate the teachings of Bhagavatam. A little bit of understanding on this is given by our acharyas. There is a term mahabhakya, and bhakya comes from vacha, speak. Bhakya is an utterance or a statement. So mahabhakya is the principal utterance. Our acharyas have described in many literatures that in many literatures, in Shastra, there will be a principal statement upon which all other statements are to be understood. That one statement is a frame of reference for everything else that follows. The Mahabhakya is generally at the very beginning or towards the beginning of a Shastra. So if you ever have any confusion as you continue in studying of what does this one mean, what does that one mean, the acharyas state you have to go back. You have to refer back to that principal utterance, to that main statement, the thesis, if you will, of the Shastra. The Mahabhakya of the Srimad Bhagavatam is in the third chapter of the first canto. It's Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse 28. Ete chamsa kalapumsa Krishnas tu Bhagavan Swayam. All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. This verse firmly establishes, as Prabhupada notes, Krishna's position as the absolute truth. It's the touchstone for interpreting all subsequent descriptions of the Lord in Bhagavatam. Srila Rupa Goswami, in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, delineates 4 qualities that distinguish Krishna from all other forms of God, including Narayan and Vishnu. And these qualities further illuminate the concept of Krishna as Swayam Bhagavan, and they help us understand why he is the ultimate object of devotion. So number 1, Lila Madhurya, the sweetness of his pastimes. Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan are unparalleled in their charm and intimacy. His playful interactions with the gopis, the cowherd boys, and even the cabs, they exhibit a level of affection and sweetness that transcends all other divine relationships that we see. We don't see Narayan frolicking, do we? Or Lord Vishnu. There's Lila Madhurya. The sweetness of Krishna's pastimes are very, very special. The second is Prema Madhurya, the sweetness of his devotees' loves. The love that Krishna inspires in his devotees is unique. The residents of Vraj, headed by, of course, Srimati Radharani, exemplify the highest forms of pure selfless love for God. 3 is Venu Madhurya, the sweetness of his flute playing. Krishna's flute holds a very special place in his identity. The enchanting sound of his flute captivates all living beings, both in the material and spiritual world. And the 4th and final quality that distinguishes Krishna from all other forms of God is Rupa Madhurya, the sweetness of his form. Krishna's transcendental beauty is incomparable, even among the other extraordinarily gorgeous forms of God. His threefold bending form, adorned with peacock feathers and a garland of forest flowers. I mean, he's the pinnacle of divine beauty. These 4 qualities, they collectively establish Krishna's position as the ultimate object of love and devotion. Even within the spiritual realm, where there are various forms of the Lord that are worshipped and are bona fide, Krishna's qualities make him uniquely accessible and endearing to his devotees on the path of bhakti. And the most intimate exchanges of love with the Supreme Lord occur in Vrindavan. The relationships Krishna has with his devotees there, as a friend, as a lover, as a child, they're imbued with that madhurya, sweetness, that surpasses really all other manifestations. And Krishna's pastimes outside of Vrindavan, as glorious as they are, they don't reach that same level of intimacy and spontaneity as those found in Braj. So this understanding forms the foundation also of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which is a commentary of the Bhagavatam by Sanatana Goswami that explores the progressive levels of devotion among Krishna's devotees. While all the relationships in there are glorified, the superlative position of Krishna's devotee in Vrindavan are uniquely celebrated, and in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, we understand that they are the topmost. Lastly, in the purport today, Srila Prabhupada, he addresses the modern scholarly speculations that dismiss Bhagavatam as mythology or the Puranas as a recent composition. And he firmly asserts the eternal nature of Krishna's pastimes, which manifests cyclically in the material world. He notes these pastimes, occurring once in the day of Lord Brahma, are beyond the comprehension of materialistic scholars. So in conclusion, we can feel that today's verse of Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse 22, it encapsulates the timeless essence of bhakti. It declares that the soul finds ultimate fulfillment in devotional service to God, specifically to Krishna, Vasudeva Bhagavati. And it leaves us with this really sweet but also profound understanding that Krishna is not just the Supreme Lord, but he's the most intimate, approachable, and all-attractive form of God. So thank you for listening. I did my best to share what I have heard from elevated souls. And now it would be nice to hear from you, any reflections, or from Prabhupada Priya, no doubt, corrections, realizations. Hare Krishna. Tulsi Saki, you look like you're thinking.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Manjari Gopika.
Hare Krishna Prabhupada Priya. I wish you had spoken today, but I was so happy to see you in the temple room today. It was a wonderful surprise.
Very well. Just some reflections. Yeah, it was a very nice, well-prepared class. I like how you focused in on some of the Sanskrit words, especially Vasudeva Bhagavati, and how you kind of like cross-referenced different verses that have that phrase in it, because that's very important. That's the whole point of the Srimad Bhagavatam, is that we understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the supreme object of worship, and the way to worship him is bhakti. So you really, zoomed in on that essential point. And excuse me, what was I going to say? Lost my train of thought. But and it's nice how this. Oh, the Paribhasi Sutra, the verse that you mentioned from Canto 1, Chapter 3, 28. Everything. This is what I liked. That you quoted that to state that Krishna's above and beyond all the different incarnations, and then you gave the reasons why. Like, why is he superior to all the other incarnations? And that's because he has those four qualities, or those four characteristics that no other incarnation has. And the nice thing is that they're all in relation to his sweetness. So Krishna's glory is not in his majesty or his opulence, his power or his fame, but it's in his sweetness. And I was just thinking that's even amongst devotees, if we think of our favorite devotees in ISKCON, it's like, what do we like about them? They're so sweet, It's like everybody's favorite devotee is the one who's just like so sweet that every time they say something, it's like it just melts your heart. Or just, when you observe them, or you just touch them, it's like touching a gulab jamun, the sweetness comes out. So, it's something to meditate on, is the greatness of sweetness.
Thank you so much. That was really beautiful, your reflection. Prabhupada said you take on the qualities of that which you associate with. So guess those devotees, I know what you're saying. There's some really special devotees in ISKCON that are so sweet and so gentle.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Manjari Gopika and Prabhupada Priya, because what Mother Prabhupada Priya said was so perfect. It is something that I will also take home with me, meditate on what makes Krishna different from all his incarnations is his sweetness and the sweetness of devotees. That is so beautiful. Jai, thank you.
Anyone else have any takeaways or comments or questions? If not, thank you so much then. And you can have breakfast early. Hare Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam ki